A female fencer stands up for fairness in women's sports. She did it by taking a knee and refusing to compete against a biological male at a tournament over the weekend.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about 31-year-old competitive fencer Stephanie Turner refusing to compete against a transgender person by the name of Redmond Sullivan at the Cherry Blossom Open in Maryland. Now, there was a video of the incident where she took a knee and refused to compete, therefore being disqualified from the tournament. That was right around March 30th of this year. Now, before I go any further, hold on. Round of applause to her. Round of applause, because this is what I like to see. And before I go any further, I don't want anybody at all ever to accuse me of being homophobic, transphobic, any other obic oberist. I'm not afraid of anything on God's green earth. I don't even fear death because that's part of life. I'm not scared of anything. What I am is a fair person. I know that it's unfair for men, biological men, to pose as women and compete against women in women's sports. I can say that as a man, that a man shouldn't be doing it. And if you are doing it, you have to be ashamed of yourself and it shouldn't be allowed. But ultimately, if women don't step up, if women don't fight back, then it will continue. So this right here is what has to happen if the ridiculousness of men and women's sports ends. It starts with the women. And I'm here for it. Now, before I go any further, we have Miss Turner speaking to Fox News, which I love. This is fantastic. I'll place this full video in the box if you want to see it and hear it without my commentary. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit the link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Be interested in a female fencer stands up for fairness in women's sports. She did it by taking a knee and refusing to compete against a biological male at a tournament over the weekend. The referee's response, a black card, the sport's most severe penalty, which means expulsion from the tournament. Let's bring in
Stephanie. You are my hero. If nobody else told you today, I'm telling you right now, you are my hero, 100%.
The athlete at the center of it all, Stephanie Turner. And Stephanie, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this was an Olympic qualifying event. My understanding of it is this was something that you had prepared all your life for. It wasn't an Olympic qualifying event. I'm sorry. I had heard that this morning.
No.
I did see that as well. So I'm about to say, if that was the case, that would have made it even more of an impactful event because that's an Olympic qualifier. But I'm glad it wasn't that. And I hope that this won't impact her if she has Olympic aspirations. Hopefully this won't get in the way, and hopefully the IOC are not going to try to put her against the male once she gets to that level, if that is what happens.
It wasn't.
It was an important event, though. And this is something that you've been preparing for an awfully long time. You decided that you were going to take yourself out of the tournament. What was the thinking in leading up to the decision where you took a knee?
Right. So this was actually a regional tournament held by the USFA at the University of Maryland. So part of my pre-competition ritual is to check the online registration to see who is going to be there and just double check my check-in times. And on the registration list, I saw Redmond Sullivan's name listed there. And I recognized this individual from a previous Redux article that had been written stating that this person was a man who had previously competed on the men's team at Wagner. And
let's pause. I like how she says this is a man. Let's not play into the delusion talking about, oh, this is a woman, a trans woman. No, this is a man. And this is what a lot of these people do. They will compete against the men as men and they realize, hey, I'm not very good. How about I become, quote unquote, become a woman and compete against them and dominate? Haven't we seen this? Leah Thomas with the swimming. We've seen this time and time again. It was a movie in the 90s called Joanna Man where that exact same scenario played out. I never thought I'd be talking about it happening in real life, but here we are. Here we are.
And was now competing as a woman within the USFA. So from that point, I just got really disappointed. with the USFA and with this tournament, and I just felt like at a loss. I'd already committed so much money to it and training hours, and I was literally looking forward to this. I do this tournament every year.
Yeah.
I think this may be like my 10th year in a row doing this tournament. And I just got really sad and I started crying because this was like the last thing I wanted to deal with in my competition.
Because now you're kind of in a lose-lose situation. If you compete against this man, obviously you're at a disadvantage. You're already demoralized before you go into the match because you know you're probably going to lose. If you compete, that happens. But if you don't compete and you take a knee, now you become a political figure. So it's a lose-lose situation.
So at one point in the video, so we see
there,
we see you take a knee, and then the official comes over. What did you say to the official at that point?
So the official came over to me and asked if I was still refusing defense, and I said yes. Oh, and you're talking about initially,
Yes.
or when I got the black card?
No, initially.
Initially, I told them that I was refusing defense because this person is a man and I am a woman, and this is a women's tournament, and I refuse defense on principle.
And then later, right after this, we see your opponent comes over. What did you say to your opponent at that point?
Great question. Great question.
My opponent was a little bit confused, thinking that I was maybe hurt, and I said, no, I am refusing to defense you because I'm a woman and you are a man. I have much love and respect for you, but I will not compete against you.
Wow.
And he responded, okay, well, there's a, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
He's interrupting. I think it might be a little bit of a delay because I wanted to hear what the response was from the trans person.
Sorry, what was his response?
His response was, okay, but there's a member of the board of directors here, and he supports me, and there's a policy that says that I'm a woman and I'm allowed to compete in the women's tournament, and if you do this, you're going to get black carded. And I said, I know.
So here's what USA Fencing said.
So it's like, is a man threatening her? Like, look, man, I got backup. You don't. I got a director here and he supports me. You don't want to fence, you're going to get black carded. You're going to be disqualified. Is that what we doing, men? For real? Is that what we doing? Threatening women? Is that how we operate? That's not how men operate. I don't care if you're gay or straight. That's not how men operate.
Said in a statement to Fox News Digital, USA Fencing enacted our current transgender and non-binary athlete policy in 2023. The policy was designed to expand access to the sport of fencing and create inclusive, safe spaces. It goes on to talk more, but this idea about inclusive, safe spaces, what about inclusive, safe spaces for female athletes?
And when you say inclusive, what does that mean? Inclusive to me means all women, biological, XX women. That's what inclusive means. If you're skilled enough to do this as a woman, come one, come all. But you got to be a woman, not a man who says that he is a woman, an actual biological XX woman.
Right. There's nothing for me and there's everything for him, because I have no choice as a woman, as a female, in where I compete. I am a woman and I have an athletic disadvantage to men, so I compete in the women's division, which is where I rightfully am. But he has been given this opportunity to fence in the women's division, and he can compete. He can easily compete in the men's division. He can also compete at mixed events in local tournaments if he wants. There is a place for him. So the idea that they're expanding the women's is just essentially making it an open tournament that can include men, and it ends up hurting me and other girls.
Let's pause for a minute. Now, he could still be quote unquote transgender, identify as whatever, and compete against the men because he is a man. There's no law, as far as I know, that restricts or bans or bars transgender women who are biological men from competing against other biological men. So go do that. Or like she said, compete in the mixed events where you have men and women competing and it's totally fine. do that rather than trying to invade upon the women's space.
So you've got the support of Riley Gaines, who was on our network earlier today, and former tennis star Martina Navratilova, who put this out on X. She said, "This is what happens when female athletes protest. Anyone here still think this is fair? I am fuming, and shame on USA Fencing. Shame on you for doing this. How dare you throw women under the gender BS bus?" I mean, this doesn't come at the expense of male athletes. We don't see this in the flip side of the coin. This all comes at the expense of female athletes like yourself. Like
That's a really good point, because one thing about it, you do have trans men that exist. These are women who identify as men. They exist, but you never, ever, ever see them trying to compete against men and men's sports. Why? Because they have no advantage. But you always see it the other way around. Why? Because they have an advantage. It's not right. It's unfair, and it shouldn't be happening. Now, there's more to that video. I'll link to it again in the box. But again, shout out to Stephanie Turner. As I said, if no one has told you today, Stephanie, you're my hero. I think I could speak for the majority of us. You're all of our heroes, because this kind of nonsense won't come to an end totally. We can have the government intervene, and that's one thing, but it won't really come to an end totally until women say, you know what, no more. I'm not going to do this. I will take a stand against this kind of stuff. I'm a woman. I want to compete against the women. That's the way that it should be. Their wishes should be respected. Men, biological XYs, should not be in women's spaces trying to compete against them, trying to dominate them, trying to catch them in vulnerable moments. That's not how men operate. I don't care if you're gay, straight, non-binary, confused, whatever you want to call yourself. I don't care. Men are men, women are women. Let's be fair in society, shall we? And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about Stephanie Turner taking the knee rather than competing against a transgender person, Redmond Sullivan? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. Miss Turner is my hero for sure. And we need this. We need more of it, because too many times I see men competing against women and the women do nothing. I'm not trying to attack the women. I'm attacking the men. It's really kind of a shame that we are where we are. But it'll take the women to stop all this. Anything else, in my humble opinion, is not going to work. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.